why Man Thompson is the smartest rookie in the NBA. Let's see.
Game and 1.5 assists per game on a 49.4 true shooting percentage. He then missed extended time due to an ankle injury.
He did.
When he recovered, the Rockets decided to bring him back slowly and assign him to the G League. Where in 2 games, he proved to be a bit too good for that level of competition.
Nah, I've seen his stats in the G League. He averaged like a triple-double.
21.5 points per game,
Damn near, yeah.
rebounds per game, and 7.5 assists per game on a 52.6 true shooting percentage. And since being called back up to the NBA level, he's been getting more consistent opportunity. Over his last 12 games, he's averaging 9.2 points per game, 6.3 rebounds per game, 2.7 assists per game, 1.5 steals per game, and 0.7 blocks per game.
Boy, those twins are good at defense, boy.
Shooting percentage and 19.2 minutes per game. While these numbers don't jump off the page for a top 4 pick, what I've seen on tape is extremely encouraging because he's showing things that simply shouldn't be possible athletically, and it's why I'm still as high on him now as I was prior to the NBA. But quickly before we go any further, if you're new and like basketball, I'd really appreciate if you would like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever I release.
You do that from my channel too.
I'm making videos about basketball all the time, and liking and subscribing are the 2 best ways can help me out in the YouTube algorithm, help support the channel, and help me reach my goal of 10,000 subscribers by the end of the season. Let's try and get 100 likes on this.
Ooh, season? End of the year for me.
Anyways, let's talk about Amen Thompson. Amen Thompson has a legit argument for being the most athletic NBA player I've ever seen, and I don't say that lightly.
Him or his brother.
Ridiculously quick and twitchy. He's blazing fast with and without the basketball in his
hand. Him and his brother are very athletic, bro.
Vertical explosion and vertical range. He's a very fluid lateral mover. He has unreal body control and flexibility. He moves like a Kame from a Kame got killed. Hopefully Amen actually reaches his full potential, unlike that so. And you see the flashes of a monster rim pressure.
Good backdoor.
He's shooting 65.2% at the rim on 3 attempts per game. Per 75 possessions, that's 6.2 attempts per game. He's nearly impossible to contain 1v1 athletically. And a number that stood out to me is that over his last 24 games, he's shooting 58.8% on 2.8 attempts per game when a defender is within 2 to 4 feet of him, which the NBA classifies as tight defense. Especially if he gets that first step on the defender, he's not going to be able to be.
That's crazy, bro. He be running point guard while his brother be running at the 3, bro.
He's also flashed ability to draw fouls. In 7 of his 30 games played, he's taken at least 4 free throw attempts. I do think a lot of the lower free throw attempt numbers has to do with his role being more limited. If he got more responsibility and opportunity, I think he would be averaging 4 to 5 free throw attempts per game, but given the context of the situation, that's just not the case. He's not perfect as a finisher, can be a bit chaotic, and could be a bit stronger as well, but I'm not too worried about those things because of how promising he's looked in this area, despite not getting consistent minutes in the rotation until pretty recently. But while the rim pressure upside is real, what really stands out to me when watching Amen Thompson play is his offensive processing. His feel for the game is off the charts.
Nah, he's really good, bro. I like him at the point guard position.
Speeds he does on its own is special, but when you combine that level,
he can really play 1 through 4
with the freakish intangibles he has. You get to see plays that just don't seem.
They just need to get better at shooting both of them. Both of the twins.
Playmaking and scoring scenarios. He has the.
But Amen is a better shooter than Asar.
You just can't teach. Amen is matched up on a slower defender in Kyle Anderson here. He's going to use his combination of burst and handle to get by Anderson, where he's met at the rim by Rudy Gobert. Now,
Mickey Mouse Defensive Player of the Year. Rudy Gobert is a Mickey Mouse Defensive Player of the Year. I will say that. Rudy Gobert is Mickey Mouse when it comes to defense.
Still the best rim defender in the NBA. So the result is as expected when Amen attacks Gobert. But I think Amen understood that was likely going to be the outcome. So the moment that the impact happened,
if the Spurs are actually like within the playing margin, Victor will win Defensive Player of the Year next year.
He's looking for where that basketball is. He
uses
his second jump to get the basketball and then go back up for the putback, before Gobert can even react again. I think this play really shows how a man understands his athletic advantages compared to those around him, as well as his instincts as a player. The ability to understand that he had a bad miss and react to it as quickly as he did. The ability to get it off the glass in a way that only he could get to it athletically. And then understanding that 3 defenders in the paint means that there's an open shooter. I don't fully agree with the comparisons to Ja Morant, but one area I do think they are similar is the ability to thrive as a playmaker in chaos. Even when stumbling and losing his handle, he's able to see that Cam Whitmore is cutting to the basket in an open situation, and he has the feel and vision to get it to him. And this play here is just ridiculous. He's going to take the screen, attack the basket, and go into a jump pass. He's able to read the floor while in mid-air for only a split second and get a pass off in time before he's called for a travel, because if he doesn't get that pass off quick enough, he's going to get called for the travel. I explained this in about 20 seconds. He processed this in less than a second. Thompson is also putting in work as a rebounder. 4.9 rebounds per game and 17.4.
His brother's doing a better job of rebounding, but his brother's at the 3, so.
He also had a game with 14 rebounds. Now, he's not as good of a rebounder as his twin brother, Asar. 75 possessions if we compare the two. Asar averages 10.1 rebounds per game.
And Asar does start, to be fair. Asar does start.
Asar is a better offensive rebounder, and I also think his timing and positioning is a bit better as well. But that's not a knock against the men, because Asar is probably the best non-big offensive rebounder in the NBA. And the men is still a very good rebounder in his own right. He showcases the motor and athleticism on both sides of the glass, which brings value to both offense and defense. Offensively, he can create extra possessions for his team. Defensively, he's athletic and skilled enough to grab and go to start a fast break. For a player that projects to play the 1 through the 4 positions, having a skill like this is very valuable.
1 through the 4,
has a ton of defensive upside as well. His frame and athleticism give him incredible defensive range. He has the motor to capitalize on his gifts with his defense. He's not as polished as his twin brother. He could improve his technique a bit. But I see all the tools to suggest the man could be an elite defensive player one day. Over his last 10 games, he's averaging 2.2 stocks per game, which is a combination of blocks and steals. Nearly a steal and a half, and nearly 1 block per game is pretty impressive considering that's in 18.6 minutes per game. While he's far from a finished product on this end of the floor, I do believe a man has the upside defensively to be productive and impactful, especially as an on-ball defender against guards and wings. Thompson is far from a perfect player, because perfect players don't exist in yet.
Like a lot of these guys takes, pretty good. I'm agreeing with him. I literally said it already, a man literally can play 1 through 4. Asar, better rebounder, obviously, for certain reasons.
I'm not too concerned about some of the decision making and handle concerns.
But I think Amin is a better playmaker, for sure.
Players tend to struggle with, but he's also someone I view as athletic enough in terms of the handle.
It's just their shooting, bro. If they got better at shooting,
upside in terms of his handle as well, and his playmaking. So the decision making and the handle of things, I think, can get a lot better. However, his jump shot is a real concern. He's shooting 28.6% on 4.9 non-rim attempts per game. That's non-rim attempt 2s and his 3-pointers combined. We all knew it was a concern entering the NBA.
Yeah.
The form was funky, the results weren't overly promising, to put it lightly, and in order for a man to reach his full potential, he will have to become at least a respectable shooter.
He do.
Now that leads us into the biggest question with the Thompson. Is there anything to suggest he can become a respectable shooter? Well, he's shooting 70.4% at the line on 2.3 attempts per game.
It's not that bad.
24. While the volume is low on these numbers, according to Clean the Glass, he is shooting 41% on 22 total short mid-range attempts and 45% on 11 total long mid-range attempts. And another stat that is limited in volume, but is somewhat encouraging, he is shooting 40% on 0.8 pull-up 2-point attempts per game over his last 24. While these numbers are a bit low, I have seen some shockingly fluid pull-up mechanics on tape. I say all of this to tell you, it's a long road ahead. The flashes have been limited in terms of volume at best. However, I don't think he's a lost cause as a shooter either, because he's not afraid to shoot, he's not the most confident shooter either, but I've seen enough willingness to believe he can get better.
Ugh, that was nasty. That was nasty right there.
That suggests he has the work ethic to get better. I highly doubt he will ever become an elite shooter, but there's some hope he can be competent with proper development.
All you really gotta do is be a respectable shooter, you know what I mean? Just have enough respect, so then, you know, you really get his teammates going. That's really the main goal.
To reach the competent levels of shooting with the man as a shooter if he's going to reach his full potential, which is something only time will tell. Amen Thompson has one of the highest ceilings for a young player in the NBA. His floor isn't as high as some others, which is why it's fair to prefer other young players over him, but you have to at least acknowledge how absurd this upset is. Because he just has so many things in terms of physical and athletic tools, as well as feel for the game and intangibles you just can't teach. I do think his floor is higher than most do, despite what I just said about him compared to his peers, because I think at worst, this is an athletic playmaker that has off-ball transition value, rebound, and defend as a spark plug off the bench. An energy guy in your rotation that plays around 20 minutes per game. But at his absolute best, this could be an absolute superstar. One of the best rim pressure threats in the NBA. One of the better playmakers in the NBA. One of the better non-big rebounders. Great defensive player. And one of the most role versatile and lineup flexible players in the entire NBA. Now, those are two ends of the spectrum, and those are the only two possible outcomes. Like any NBA player, Amen has countless potential outcomes, and if you can't tell already, he has to develop as a shooter in order to reach his highest end outcome, and really the level of shooter he reaches will determine how good he is. If he can't improve as a shooter, he's likely a career rotation guy. If he can become a competent enough shooter, he can reach legit all-star to all-NBA status because everything else is just that special. If he somehow becomes an elite shooter, like high volume, 40+% from 3, he will be one of the 5 best players in the world.
That's true.
That outcome isn't realistic, not impossible because anything is possible, but highly unlikely. But that does go to show how promising and special he is in the other areas of the game. I don't think Amen will flame out.
I think Amen will eventually get better at shooting, you know what I mean? Like, you know, Giannis did it. Well, Giannis was actually not a bad rookie, but Giannis was able to develop a somewhat respectable, you know what I mean? But I think people would rather down the hill. But if Amen does better, you know what I mean? This might be something. I feel like Amen might be able to get to respectable.
He has an
respect
skill that will determine just how high the heights he reaches are, and I'm interested to see how he develops over the next few years, because I think if he does figure out his one major swing factor, he's going to be a nightmare for the NBA. But that's the end of this video. If you made it to this point, thank you so much.
Yeah. Terra Nova, that's a pretty good video, my boy. That's pretty good. I mostly agree with you. There's some, obviously I said Amen is better than Asar at some things. It's just rebound, I think. Asar has been better at.
I just upgraded my status. I put on Dior cause I just love fashion. Let's make the play for the pad, he tassing. Told her I should better die, I take my cut from the back.